Good evening, Rekha ma'am.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Jay.
Good evening.
Good evening, Suhana. Yes, Suhana, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So you missed last class, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yesterday's class. Okay. Yeah, we were doing the writing session. Have you been able to do the speaking tasks?
Yes, ma'am. I have done quite a few speaking
I
tasks.
just sent two integrated to you today.
Yeah, I've reviewed and I have put in the message also.
You did? I did not check.
I just did a little while ago. Right?
Okay.
Varun, for you, you have to work a little more on the presentation of your speaking task. Number one, on the pacing. Like either you go too slow or you start very fast and then you become slow. Work on that a little.
Yes, it is that I start very fast and then I think I remember that I'm going too fast. But then when I slow down, I become too slow. So I sort of have to find the pace where I should be starting.
Right, that happens. And another thing that happens with you is you can make out that you are thinking while you are speaking. So that should not show, right? So it should be a little more of a natural pacing.
Yeah.
So that you get your points, you are still thinking, but it doesn't show that you are thinking. So the pauses should not be there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that was a problem was that in your, yeah, you were repeating points.
Yeah. It was that the one I think I know which one you're talking about because in that one the speaker herself will mention that same point again and again. So I got confused like whether or not I should mention this because I was like maybe just like mention that it is unfair once and then just like let it go.
Yeah, so it is unfair. She says it is unfair, but then you can put it is unfair to allow the students to take
Yeah.
the
No, it was
course.
that I had in the end I know I repeated, but then I finished all my points and I had 7 seconds left. So I just looked down and like saw like what is did I miss anything? So then like I in like those last 7 seconds I just blurted that out.
Yeah. And another thing, and this is for all of you, in the integrated speaking task, you should begin, especially the conversation one, you should begin with a clarity on what the notification or the decision of the university, etc., is, right? So that should be clear. So what is the student responding to should be clearly stated. It should not be too long, very short. Like Jay, in your, I think the second task, you said that you talked about the romance division scholarship. Yeah, scholarship to Rome. What is it about? Now that was not the main point. The main point is that exclusion of others. The romance department has decided that the other that the students of other departments will not be allowed to participate. That was the main thing.
Ma'am, I have not sent any speaking task to you.
Yeah, you haven't sent. That's what I was
I
saying.
sent writing task.
Yeah, okay. Jay, you sent the writing task. Sorry, I was not able to open it. Can you resend it in a Word format?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes.
because somehow I was not able to open it.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And Suhana, if you are practicing, you can send me your responses, record them, send me. And yesterday we did the integrated writing. So you go through it, you go through the guidelines that are there. So you will get to the template and what you need to do. Yeah, it's basically the writing task is similar to the integrated speaking one, the academic speaking. So here also you get a passage to read, and we did the first two tasks, and you can go on to do them. So the passage will be there. There will be 3 points in the passage, and the lecturer will be refuting the 3 points. Right? So you have to take notes on the lecture as well as on the passage, and then integrate them into an essay. So the guidelines are there. The pointers are also there for the first two tasks. You can do that. Go through it, and yeah, next Saturday we will be that's the coming Saturday we will be having an extra session. So all your doubts, please write down so that we can clear them. Right? Okay. Yes, Akhil, good evening. Good evening. So you received the review of your writing tasks,
Yeah, I went through it.
right? Any doubt?
No, mostly I attempted it after the class, so I forgot a few points. So yeah.
No, that's okay. You can, what you can do is rewrite it so that now your two things are correct. Your format is correct, and your organization with the transitions, that is correct. All you have to do now is to work on the points, and one thing very important in the writing task is the balance between the points from the passage and the points from the lecture. Yeah. So points from the passage should not overpower the points from the lecture. That is one thing you have to keep in mind.
Ma'am, I completely wanted to ask to help with. I was doing writing before the class, and I was doing like the first one.
Yeah.
So what the problem was that every time I began the new passage, it was like, so first we have to paraphrase what the professor said, and then we have to go on to say what how it is contrasting to the paragraph. So the problem was every time I started a new paragraph, I would always start with like the professor states or the professor defends, or like
Okay.
I would keep mentioning the
You
professor.
can begin with what the professor is saying,
Yeah.
or you can begin with the point raised in the passage. Both
Okay.
ways is okay.
I can switch those two interchangeably.
Yeah. So according to the passage, according to the like in that particular task, according to the critics, whatever the point has been raised, and then you go on to the lecturer refutes the point,
Yeah.
or lecturer disagrees with, or the lecturer clarifies that.
Yes, because it was like I felt that it would be easier to string like for some of the paragraphs. I thought it would be easier to like string it if I like mentioned like what the paragraph said and then I went to the professor, because it's like so because like that would be easier for me to write about first.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Right? Okay, Jay, have you, okay, Jay, you can record your speaking tasks and send them to me,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So over this week, I would expect you people to be practicing regularly. So Suhana, have you booked your test date? Have you
No,
registered for
ma'am,
the
not
test?
yet.
So when are you expecting to take the test?
Ma'am, I'll do it before 21st of June.
Okay, good. Varun, you have booked your date, right?
Yeah, I've booked for 10.
Okay. So Akhil, you can also take your test somewhere around the third or fourth week of June.
Yeah, ma'am.
So by the end of June, you will be prepared well enough. So you just have to be practicing for 3 weeks properly, and you will be done. Yeah. Varun, your date is when?
10th.
10th of June.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't have much time.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah,
why
so you have to speed up your practice a little, right? Now for the integrated task, there are 2 more integrated tasks in your material that you've got. You can look up on page. It is a TW3, that is around page 78. It should be 78, 79, something like that. So there are 2 more integrated tasks. The tracks are also available. Yeah, passages there, tracks are available. You can attempt them and do this with timing. Try to do it with timing. Maybe a little bit, 5 minutes up and down will be okay for these. And when you are practicing with the practice test videos that I've sent you, there you will be following the exact time. So the timer will be there, and that will give you a little practice on the time. Okay, and when you register for your ETS, so Varun, have you got your 2 ETS mock tests?
no,
Not as yet?
no, not yet.
Okay. You can mail them if you haven't received the ETS mock test, because when you register, you're supposed to be getting a link to 2 ETS mock tests. So check your mails from ETS,
Yes.
whether there is a link to any mock test. So usually it comes when you register.
Okay.
So you can see if it is not, if it has not come, then you can write to them. And okay, whenever you register, you will get 2 mock tests, and those 2 tests, either you can take it at home, record your responses to the speaking section and send it to me, and copy the writing tasks onto a Word file and mail it to me. Or you can come to the branch, Kharghar branch, if it is convenient, and you can write the test over there. So somebody will be recording your speaking task and helping you to copy the writing task. Or if you're doing it at home, you can do it yourself and send it. Right? Okay. So today we will be moving on to the, okay, any other doubt on the integrated writing? Anyone has any doubt?
You're showing a word Excel or something about transition words. Yeah. Yesterday.
Yesterday I was showing you, right?
Can you send that in the group?
I'll mail it to you. Yeah. Okay. I'll mail you the transition words, and maybe I have some more also. I'll send it to you. So variation in now one thing, like Varun, you are having a little problem with the variation in your sentence structures. So work on it a little. Try to use different words. Like I gave you the yesterday I was showing you a list of words which you can use instead of disagrees. Yeah. Or you can use some transition words to begin the sentences. So that will bring about a little variation. So you will see that you will not be beginning every sentence in the same way. Right? Okay. So Jay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I hope your network is okay today.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so today we will be moving on to the independent writing task. Right? Now your independent writing task is quite similar to the independent speaking task. As I said yesterday, the scoring rubrics we did the other day. Yeah, yesterday we went through the scoring rubrics for the independent writing also. So apart from your organization of the essay, the points you raise, the how much you expand it, the language you use, and your grammar. All these things are very important. So now in the independent writing task, you will be getting 30 minutes. The question will be given to you. Then you will be getting 30 minutes to plan and write. Now the independent writing task is a little bigger than the integrated writing. Integrated writing, your word limit would be around 250. So make sure you don't write too much above 250. So you have to be able to write your essay in a concise way. Your points will be there. Avoid repetition. Yes, Akhil, I think I pointed out that in your essay. So avoid repetition and make it a little concise. So to make your points concise, remember that when you have to take up the points from the passage and the lecture, right? So you tend to repeat sometimes, or you tend to be you tend to expand a little more on the points which are not required. So stick to the points which are required and make your essay or make the paragraphs concise. This is pertaining to
So to
your.
mention the points, that we need to expand on them a little bit on each passage.
Yes, now for the integrated speaking, you mention the points and you are giving the facts, right? So the facts should be there, and the other things that you would want to expand on should be very concise, right? So the explanation has to be concise, points have to be there, right? And now in the independent task, you have to write a minimum of 300 words. So your lower limit is 300 words. Your upper limit could be around 350 to 375. Because in about 30 minutes.
What is the upper limit?
Upper limit is not given, but you could write maximum, say about 375 words, right?
And what
So-
should be the maximum for integrated?
For integrated, it is 250. According to them, you can write, it is 225 according to them. You can write up to 250, but not more than that. So don't stretch it to about 300 for the integrated, right? So if you follow the structure and the template pattern that you have got, and you know that, okay, these are the points that have been raised by the lecturer, then you will see that, okay, if you are going to you are going to take up only the important points and put it in a concise manner, you will not cross 250, right? Okay, so for the independent, 300 words minimum, so your essay should not be too short. Here again, your organizing the essay is very important. Usually the format of the questions would be something like this: agree or disagree, yeah, explaining both sides. It could be advantages, disadvantages, or a discussion on a particular topic. Some people believe this, some people believe that would come in. Or it could be pick a stance from many options. So if you look at the questions, they will be very similar to the question format of the independent speaking. Only here your expansion will be more. So if you are going to talk about 2 points, then your reasoning with the help of examples will be a little elaborate, right? So when we are talking about the agree, disagree type of questions, you will be expressing your opinion. So this is a topic where your opinion matters. And the same way as I told you for the independent speaking, there's no right or wrong answer. So you can take any stance you want to, as long as you have enough points to support it, right? So don't think that should I write on against this particular point or should I write for it. That's not the issue. The issue is how strong your answer is and how well written it is, right? So you have to be able to use reasons, give examples, expand on the essay topics, right? So now the pick a stance from many options will also be similar to the speaking task, where a preference, usually a preference question, like if these were the choices given to you, what would you want to do? That type could come in. Or if these were the options available, what course would you want to take up? So something of that sort. Usually you will find that if you prepare a few topics, like some general topics about campus situations, something in school, some social issues, certain academic related issues, like taking up a particular course, whether the professors, the teaching methods of the professors, some particular courses which should be taken up or not, extracurriculars should be included or not, community service should be made compulsory or not. So lots of general topics would be there, which if you prepare some points and say at least around 10 to 15 types of topics, you can use those points in various ways, right? Now, if you look at the approach, so now your question will always ask you to explain your opinion with reasons and examples, and they will also tell you to be original. So it's not that you have mugged up something, you put in lots of quotes, somebody has said something, you put everything in. That will not make a very strong essay. Your own opinion and how you are explaining it, yes, examples will come in. In some essays, you will find you can use your personal examples from your personal experiences. It could be your experiences, it could be experience of somebody you know or some people around you. Now, always your points will be supported with reasons. Now, here again, your first paragraph will be about your opinion and paraphrasing the question, right? So that is what we call the thesis paragraph. So the introductory paragraph is a thesis paragraph, which begins with the topic, yeah, according to some people this or that, and then you go on to your opinion. I agree or disagree, or I believe that way. I'll come to the templates also. Now, after you've stated your opinion, you can, if you are sure about the points that you are going to talk about, you can just mention in one short sentence that I believe this because of this and this reason. So it's just about the keywords from your reasons. Yeah. If you can do that, fine. If you think that it becomes a little complicated and maybe you end up writing something else, then leave that be. Or you can also do another thing, that you can write your entire essay and write your introduction in the end, because you are typing out, so you can add your introduction in the beginning later on, right? So these are the things that you can do. Now, coming to the essay format, you should have at least 2 to 3 body paragraphs. Yeah. So the body paragraphs will pertain to specific points which you are presenting. So whatever topic it is, you will be giving point number 1, reasoning for that, explain why you think so, and examples to support that reason, right? And then you go on to point number 2, give your reasoning, example to support your reason. So basically an expansion of the way you tackle the independent speaking class, right? Okay, now, yeah, and since this is writing, your punctuations are very important, right? So where you are using your comma, whether your comma is correct or not, whether you have your clauses in your sentence structure are correct or not. If you have independent clauses, are you connecting them with a comma and conjunction, right? Or if you're using a semicolon, is it appropriate to use a semicolon at that place? Or should you break your sentence into two independent sentences? So that will all depend upon your idea. So only one thing you must remember is, do not write too long sentences, right? So because because it's an independent task and you are writing about your own ideas, there's a tendency to go into long drawn out sentences. Don't do that. The longer the sentence, the more the grammatical mistakes that are likely to occur, right? And yes, be careful of your typing mistakes, right? Okay, Akhil, when you send me the essays that you wrote, did you go back after you finished? Did you read through them?
Yeah, I was finished on my time, so I tried to be like
Hmm.
what would happen in an exam situation, so I didn't
Okay,
get
so
the
you didn't
time.
have time to read through it because there were many mistakes which could have been rectified if you read through them,
Yeah.
right? So yes, you have to be working on the time, and even if you don't have time right now, the first few essays you write, you will maybe not be able to write within the time limit, but still make it a habit to go through your essay and correct all the mistakes that you can come across, right? Because leaving mistakes and those mistakes are very noticeable. Like if you have a few mistakes in the first two sentences, that gives a very bad impression, right? And mistakes which could have been avoided or would have been corrected for sure if you went through them. So revising your essay, that editing, rereading it, editing and refining your points, you can edit your essay because you are typing it out. So you can change a word, change an entire sentence as you have time. Yeah. But now spelling, grammar, and typos, you have to be very careful about, right? So if there are too many spelling mistakes, if there are too many typos which have been left unattended, that creates a very bad impression. You lose points for that. Okay. So now coming to the now, yes, there is a little bit of a problem of time management. So how do you get to time management? First thing, remember in the 30 minutes that you have, you do divide it according to your, of course, according to how you would be dealing with it, but still more or less about 5 minutes of planning. First, when you are reading the question, you start thinking that, okay, now what is the question really asking me? What are the two sides of the question? Now, every agree disagree question, you write your points on both sides, right? So when you have written your points for both sides, you will find that one of the sides you have more points to write and you have more examples. So whether you actually agree or disagree doesn't matter as long as you have more points to write. Okay. So that the brainstorming and planning. Now, when you're planning, it will be like which points go into what paragraph. Sometimes you will find that you have just 2 points and the second point is rather vague. But the first point, when you start expanding on it, you will find that there are points to it which can make up another paragraph. So while you are planning, try to, before you start writing, pre-plan a little bit. 5 minutes to plan would be enough to figure out which points will go into what paragraph, what examples would come up in each of the points, right? Because when you start writing, another thing you have to remember, when you start writing, each of the points that you are writing on, that is, each of the paragraphs should have equal weightage in your writing. You don't end up expanding on the first paragraph too much, and the second point in the second paragraph is very short. Yeah, that shouldn't happen. Each point should carry equal weightage when you are writing. So now we will come to the, okay, this is a basic structure that we were talking about. You can use a 4-paragraph or 5-paragraph structure. You have an introduction. Yeah. So the introduction would be, you can begin with a general statement before you go on to the, to paraphrasing the question. Yeah. When you paraphrase the question, you are, it's like, this is the question and this is my opinion. Right. So, yes, you can talk about the other side also, that some people think this and some people think that, or there are two views to this particular topic. That way you can give, but what is most important is that your opinion should be clearly mentioned, right? So, like when the examiner is reading your introduction, now introduction has to be very short, not more than about 3 or 4 lines, right? So introduction will be short, about 3 or 4 lines. Then your body paragraph will come in, your first reason, your explanation of the first reason. Then you go on to examples for it. You can give more than one example. Suppose you think that the first example you gave is not explaining it clearly, you have a better example, you can add the other example also, right? Or maybe your paragraph becomes too short and you think that your reason is not long enough, so you expand your paragraph a little more, and you use your example to explain your reason, right? And your second paragraph again will be the same format. Second reason, second point, your reason behind it, explanation, then your examples to explain your point. Now you also have a conclusion over here. Your conclusion is more or less summing up. So when we talk about summing up, it will be something like you restating your opinion again and giving the main points that you have already mentioned in your essay. So that will be a summing up of your entire essay. So now again, the conclusion will not be as long as the main paragraphs. It will be at least half the size of the main paragraph. So 3, again, more or less it is a restatement of your introduction, but in different words, right? Got it? So let's look at a question first before we go on to the template. Okay, so this is a question we can look into. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Always telling the truth is the most important consideration in any relationship. Use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. Right? Now, in this type of a question, there could be something of an ethical dilemma, whether to support that you should always tell the truth, or whether you can, or whether to say that telling the truth is not always good. Now, as you know, that there is no right or wrong answer. No one is going to judge you on what stance you are taking. You are going to be judged on how you are supporting your stance and how you are writing your essay. So the points, reasons, examples should be clear. So suppose you think that always telling the truth is not important. Sometimes not telling the truth or hiding the truth would be better. You can go and write that also. Okay. Okay, so are you all there? Okay,
Yes,
can you do a little bit of brainstorming on this? See what points you get. Now, remember, this is an agree or disagree question. So any one of the sides you have to take. So you can just pick up your pen and paper and make two columns. One side you write agree, one side you write disagree, and see how many points you get on each side. And think of examples also. So each point has to be supported with the help of examples. So you can at least, when you are thinking, you think of examples to explain or support your answer. So if you look at the question, it's not only about telling the truth or not, it's about important consideration in any relationship. So that is the key to the question. So when you are giving your reasons and examples, you have to keep in mind that it is with relation to some relationship. So it could be a relationship between friends, it could be between with your parents, it could be with anybody else. So different examples you can use accordingly.
So, ma'am, while giving the examples, can we go into the specifics of any relationship?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Remember your now, if you look read the entire question, give specific reasons and examples. So this will not be just a general essay. It will be specific points with examples and it could be personal examples. So maybe something has happened. You were in a situation where you had to take a particular decision. You can use that also. Or you came across somebody who you interacted with. So when you use personal examples, it becomes, you can go into specifics. Okay, so anybody got your points? Yes, Varun, do you have your points?
No, ma'am.
No? What were you thinking?
No, I'm trying to write down the points.
Hmm. So what do you think? Do you think that telling the truth is always important in a relationship, or sometimes it is okay to not tell the truth?
It's important to tell the truth in a relationship.
Okay. So now that's your opinion. Now go on to think about 2 points which you can bring out, that why is it important? So 2 reasons to explain why it would be important to tell the truth. Yes, Akhil, have you written down any points?
Yes, ma'am. I've written about why is it
Okay.
important to say the truth.
Okay. So can you read out your points, what you've written?
First, telling the truth helps in building up trust. So I've
Hmm.
written trust.
Hmm.
And the second point is builds up reliability. I don't know.
Trust and reliability is more or less the
Same thing
same
almost.
thing. So, okay, if you're talking about building trust, how would you explain it? So can you explain it? If you have to expand your paragraph, you have to give explanations. So the best way to explain these type of points would be with the help of examples, right? That becomes easy. So building trust is important. Then you can say, for example, you can pick up an example and explain with the help of the example why it would be important in a particular situation. So because they said use specific reasons and examples, you can use some specific or personal examples to explain it, right? So Varun, do you have any point?
I got allows people to trust you easily, and and then like I haven't come up with any example, but for second one I have allows you to have a more healthier, more open relationship.
Mhm. Okay. So now you can think of examples, right? So Akhil, you need to come up with examples. You can use personal situations which are easier to write in these type of topics. In fact, in any topic you get, if you're using personal examples, you will find that it is easier to write. Okay, Suhana, do you have any
Yes,
points?
yes.
Okay, let's hear from you.
Ma'am, my first point is the same as Akhil, that it helps to build trust, which is very important for any relationship.
Yeah,
And my second point is that if you keep lying continuously, then the lies keep on building on top of each other, which will only bring in guilt.
okay. So how would you explain your first point?
Ma'am, I didn't write any personal example, but I was thinking of writing something that if in a friendship, if a person always tells the truth, then you will be more willing to go to them and ask for their opinion.
Mhm. Okay,
Mm, Trying to think of more personal examples.
The
okay,
trust thing, I wrote an example of a boss and employee. So if they trust
right.
each other, be able to work better,
Mm.
be more productive, and be able to rely on each other in case of emergency. Like
Right, you can
expand
use
on that
that.
a bit more.
Mhm. So you can expand on that. You can bring in situations in which this can be implemented or explained. Now, in case of any of these questions, say agree, disagree questions, suppose you are in a fix that you don't have enough points for the like you agree that telling the truth is important, but you are not able to come up with too many points. Maybe one point you've got, you've explained. Now you can go on to the other side that now when you are saying that I agree that telling the truth is important, you can go into over to the other side also, but there are certain situations in which not revealing the truth could save the day also. Yeah, you can talk about that. Your main opinion is about agree, but when you can go on, you will not say that I completely disagree, but you can bring up a point where you would say that okay, this can also happen, right? It is not about not telling the truth, but about not revealing the truth. Yeah, that way also you can get another point. So suppose somebody is in a depression or somebody is in a has a bad day and there's some bad news for that person. Maybe you would be not revealing that news to him, right? So depending upon a situation, you can think of certain things which could be written. So now when you are writing about agree and disagree, did you make two columns and wrote down both types of points? Or did you work on only one side? Yes, Varun?
No, I ended up only working on one side because I sort of decided on agreeing.
Okay. So that's what I said. Now, even if you decide on agreeing, you should whenever you have a agree disagree type of question, always write down the points on both sides. Maybe maybe in a different question, you end up with more points on the side that you think you are not agreeing to, right? And it would make more sense on writing on the other side, in support of the other side, maybe even if you don't agree with it, but it could make a better essay. Your aim is what? To make a good essay, right? Okay, Jay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think you are having some problem. Have you got down some points?
No, ma'am, not getting any points on this topic.
Not getting any points. Suppose this came up in your exam, what would you do? So what do you think? Should you always tell the truth, or should you sometimes not tell the truth?
Ma'am should always tell the truth.
Okay, should always tell the truth because it is say ethically right. But now if you say you should always tell the truth, you should have some reasons to support your answer, right?
Yes.
So why do you think that you should tell the truth? Give me at least one reason. Yeah.
I'm thinking.
So like why do you think somebody should always tell the truth to you? What would happen if somebody lied?
Ma'am,
So,
he will lose one person's trust.
Yeah. So that is one thing, trust everyone has been talking about. So now if you think that you will lose trust, now you have to support this particular reason with examples. Yeah.
Yes.
So now you think of examples, write down a few examples. So you can work on this topic. Remember, you have to expand. If you can't expand on 2 points, at least expand on 1 point and then go on to the other point in a subtle other side in a subtle way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can write on both sides. Okay, now this is a advantage disadvantage question. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of living in a large city versus living in a small town. Use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. Right? So discuss the advantages and disadvantages. So you're going to be writing on both. So here I think there's no problem about expansion of the topic. Yeah, this is a pretty good topic to write on. So a large city versus a small town. So you can begin with the advantages of living in a large city and compare those advantages to the facilities or infrastructure in a smaller town. And your next paragraph could be about the disadvantages of living in a large city versus the advantages in a smaller town. Right? So you can write 2 paragraphs. You can write 3 paragraphs. Maybe the advantages are more or the disadvantages are more. Depending on what you want to write, you can write 2 or 3 paragraphs. Right? And in your introduction, how would you begin? You have been asked to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of large city versus small city. So you can begin with a general statement, which would be more or less paraphrasing the question, right? So you can say that there are various advantages as well as disadvantages of living in a large city as compared to living in a smaller town. Yeah. Then you can bring in your opinion. Remember, your opinion should always be there. Maybe in this case, not very strongly. Or you can say, I believe that the advantages of living in a large city are more than in a small town. Or if you think the other way around, right? So that is your second statement. And you can say because of, if you are thinking of two reasons, if you are not sure of how many reasons, then because which can be supported with the help of the following reasons. Yeah. Okay. One thing I remember with the following. Akhil, do you use following in your conclusion? Right. Following is never used in a conclusion. Following you can use in an introduction. Right. You can in your conclusion you can write because this can be explained with the help of the above reasons or the reasons mentioned above. Right. You will never use following in a conclusion. Okay, in this, just think of, now here again, you can actually make two columns. So you can talk about the city and the small town. So first you talk about the advantages, then you talk about the disadvantages. You can put on your points and compared to the town, say if you're talking about advantages of the city, you will be talking about the disadvantages of the town, right? On the other hand, if you're talking about disadvantages of the city, you can talk about advantages of the smaller town. So corresponding points you can pick up, and this will be rather easy to expand and explain your points. So anyone got some points?
I have.
Okay, yes, Varun.
So for advantages, I have written 3: plethora of goods and services, better healthcare and infrastructure,
Mhm.
better work opportunities, and also better but I did write better transport, but that comes under infrastructure only.
Yeah, so when you are explaining infrastructure, transport would be an example.
Yes. For disadvantages, I put less tightly knit community,
Mhm.
a lot pollution of all kinds, sound, air pollution, etc. Even uh, can like even odd times of day I put like for sound pollution specifically, because you
Mhm.
could be like sleeping at night and there could be a party going on somewhere near you where
Mhm.
it's very loud. So I was planning on like attaching an example to this one, which is why I wrote
Okay.
that specifically.
Mhm.
And then yeah, so far I wrote this.
Mhm. And any points about the small town?
No, because it was like they asked the advantage and disadvantage of living in a large city versus living.
Versus living in a small town. So the comparison has to be there,
Yeah,
right? So it is not only the large city, it is versus the small town.
yeah,
So when you're talking about, say, the infrastructure in the large city, you compare to the infrastructure in the small town, right?
no,
Say,
because I thought,
maybe you're talking about career opportunities are better in a larger town because there are more businesses and most companies work from have their offices in the larger towns, whereas in the smaller towns the career opportunities are less. Yeah, because
yes,
most companies do not want to do business in smaller towns.
yeah,
Yeah, then when you're comparing infrastructure, you compare it with the infrastructure in the smaller towns,
yeah,
right?
yes,
And now suppose you could also end up when you're talking about the disadvantages in the cities, you could end up talking about the advantages in the smaller towns. For example, hectic life in the cities, whereas in the smaller towns, the life is easier,
yeah,
less stressful. So people tend to be healthier.
yes,
Yeah, lesser health problems in the smaller towns. Or you could talk about something else also, like you said, um, about communicating with social life of the cities.
yeah. No, it's like when I'm writing the point, like when I write like plethora of goods and
Hmm.
services, so like that, I'm always already like writing like in
Yeah.
comparison to like villages and like rural areas, and like
Yeah.
that I'm
So-
writing. It's just that I will like go more into it when I get to like writing an example,
Right. Okay.
because these are like just general examples. Because like these are just general points, because I need more time for like the
Yes, of course.
examples. So
So any other points you have? Akhil, do you have any other points?
Mostly the same ones.
Mostly same ones? Okay, Suhana?
He talked about pollution, that there's less pollution and
Yeah, he also mentioned pollution. Right? Anything else? Suhana,
Ma'am.
do you have any other points? Yes, Jay.
Yes,
Ma'am,
Yes, Jay, do you have any other
ma'am,
points?
for disadvantages, can we tell
Mhm.
that high cost of living in cities?
Of course, yes, you can talk about that. Cost of living in the city is higher than in the smaller town. In the say you can talk. You can even pick up specific examples. Say cost of living in a city like Mumbai is way higher than, or maybe double that of a smaller town. Like can be an example of a smaller town.
And ma'am, higher crime rates.
Yes, you can talk about that also. But crime rates, of course, in smaller towns are also quite high, depending upon which region you are. You can't really say that.
Okay.
So at least the points which are would be like something you have experienced, those you can talk about.
Okay.
So now, when you're talking about disadvantage, advantage, again you can bring on your personal experiences, right? Okay. So now you know that how much you once you start writing, you will come to know how much to expand and how each point is important, and examples help you to expand the particular points. Okay, now we'll just look at the yeah. Okay, so now this we already discussed that your scoring will be on a score of 5, and scoring rubrics we had gone through. So just to remind you of what they are scored on. So how you are scored on how you address the topic, as your development of the topic, and how you support your ideas, right? So it is not about whether you agree or disagree. It is about how you support your agreement or disagreement. That is important, right? And your organization of the essay is very good, important. So you're organizing the essay into paragraphs. Each paragraph, so your introduction and conclusion should be clearly written. Your paragraph should deal with specific points. So one paragraph is dealing with one point, maybe a sub point can be added to it and should be appropriately expanded, and example also should be there. Yeah. So opinion, so it will be like this. You have to be stating your opinion, evidence, example. So whenever you make, say you're making you're planning how to write. So your point, that is, you have either agreed or disagreed. Say agree and disagree. So if you're comparing which one you want to write, so your opinion will come in here. That is why you want to. So always answer the why question. Why do you agree or why do you disagree? So the reason comes in. You will. So the reason will always be supported by evidence, and evidence comes in the form of examples, right? So always say why and how. So when you do that, you will be able to expand your points. Okay, now let's look at the templates. Okay, so you have your either 4-paragraph or 5-paragraph structure. Your introduction, thesis statement, your main opinion, topic of the essay, and whether you agree or disagree, and if possible you can add why, or if you're not very sure about what to write, you can leave it be. If you think you have got clarity on your two specific points, you can go back to the specific points and add them in your introduction, right? But that should come in your conclusion, and conclusion should be clear, right? You can begin with a hook or a broader statement, like in the always speaking the truth one, say it is always ethically important to speak the truth, or maybe some you can, but yes, don't usually begin with a saying or something of that sort, that becomes too cliche. Start with a broad statement, maybe about life or something, and then go on to your specifics. Yeah. And yes, when you are talking about this part, yeah, when you're talking about you are agreeing or disagreeing, like I said, at least if you are not giving them the points that you are going to bring up, at least tell them how many points you are bringing up. So if you are talking about 2 points, add the 2 points later on. Yeah. So because of three reasons, or because of 2 reasons. So I agree to this because of 2 reasons, or I do disagree because of 2 reasons. Say you can put it this way: I feel this way for 2 reasons, which I will explore in the following essay. Right? Or I agree to this because of 2 reasons, which I will be explaining in the essay that coming up, or in the following, or in the following paragraphs. Right? So just to tell them that yes, you know what you are doing. So the specific, when they say specific reasons, specific example, they know that okay, 2 reasons are coming up. What are the 2 reasons? Now, when you are talking about a body paragraph, your structure of the body paragraph is important. Now, a transition statement should be there. What do you mean by a transition statement? Introducing the point. Your first sentence of your body paragraph, now this will be relating to every paragraph that you're writing. You'll always have a topic sentence. Yeah. What does a topic sentence do? It introduces your topic. So it introduces your point. So you can say to begin with, or firstly, to tell them that, okay, this is my first point. Yeah. Then you go on to about 1 or 2 sentences explaining your reason. First sentence will be introduction of the point. Next, sentence number 2 and 3 will be explaining your point. That's the reason that you are giving. Yeah. So general information means you are explaining the reason. Then you can go on to introducing your personal example. In my experience, you can talk about, right? Or as I have experienced. So when you are bringing a personal example, you can explain it better. Or if you don't have a personal example, you can use any other example pertaining to that particular point. Right? So when you're talking about the structure, this is what you have to keep in mind. First is the topic sentence. Second and third sentences will be general explanation of the reasons behind your topic sentence, behind the point that you have raised. Next, examples. It could be personal example or any other example. So the example can be expanded and you can write about 2 sentences relating to the example. And lastly, there will be a 1 sentence which will wrap up the paragraph. Yeah. So you can talk about the consequence of the example, right? When you're talking about advantage, disadvantage, maybe you spoke about the infrastructure. So wrapping up the point about infrastructure, like maybe you spoke about the better roads, electricity, availability of electricity, medical facilities. Yeah. Now you wrap up with a sentence which would say that these are the reasons why I think living in a city is better for any person. Yeah. Or if you take up a personal example, you can talk about that in a smaller town when you were, maybe the medical facilities were not good enough and you suffered because of that, or you saw people suffering because of that, right? So, so that will give an additional reason why you are thinking that the living in a bigger town or the infrastructure in a bigger town is better. Now, similarly, you will come up with your second point, that is your second sentence, where again you will bring out your second point, introduce your second point with either secondly or furthermore, right? And then go on to explain the second point, give example, elaborate. So elaboration is the key. Yeah. So whenever you give specific examples, you will find that you have enough to write. Right? Say you spoke about building, like if you tell the truth, trust is built up. You build up trust between two people. Now, how will you explain it? You can explain it with the help of an example. When you bring up a personal example, you can easily write two sentences on the basis of that example, right? And yeah, one thing more, when you are writing about your example, at the end of the paragraph, whatever you are thinking, that whether you are agreeing or disagreeing, that needs to be explained. That okay, you have supported your point with the help of this example. Yeah, or this reason has supported your point. This is the evidence that you have given to support your point. So you have to wrap up that. Now, when you come to the conclusion, again, you will be wrapping up. Now, okay, suppose you have a third reason to give, and the third reason you don't have enough to expand. You can club it with your conclusion. Or maybe you don't have enough time to write a separate paragraph for your conclusion. Then also you can use the particular point and add the conclusion to it. Right? So it depends upon how much time you have and how much you can expand your particular point. So your conclusion could be, say, it could have a transition phase, that is in summary or in conclusion or to conclude. Then you restate your thesis statement. So you agree or disagree or not, what was the topic? So the topic that you are writing on, your opinion will be restated in your concluding sentence, right? So conclusion will not be a repetition of, now there's a difference between repetition of the thesis statement and just a minute. So there's a difference between repeating the thesis statement and restating it. Restating is will be saying it in a different way, right? You must have been used to listening to the news on TV. When you listen to the news on TV, or even there are some news articles that pop up when you are searching on Google, you will find that the same point is repeated in different ways. So 2 minutes of a news, you will find that it is not actually talking about a different point, but the same point in different ways. So that's how they are paraphrasing. So when you paraphrase, you say the same thing in a different manner. Maybe you have added one or two points to it, or a new phrase to it, right? Okay, so when you are writing your concluding statement, number one, begin with a transition. to show them, okay, this is the conclusion. I am done with my essay. Rephrase the thesis statement and write it down. And here you can give a brief summary of your main ideas. So which you maybe you could have left out in the introductory in the introduction. Here you can add the brief summary of those main points. Right? So summary would not be a long summary, it would be just the main points that you have discussed in your 2 or 3 paragraphs. Examples will not be there, nothing else will be there. Yeah. So firstly, so here what will you do? You will be just summarizing the stance you have taken and giving you the 2 reasons you have, or the 2 points, 2 or 3 points that you have picked up. Right? Okay, so now here we have an example. We'll go through the example to figure out how you need to write. Now, don't think that this is an ideal or the best example. You can write better than this. But more or less, we will look at the structure of how they have gone about it. Yeah. So the question here is, some people say that advertising encourages us to buy things that we really do not need. Others say that advertisements tell us about new products that may improve our lives. Which viewpoint do you agree with? Right? Use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. So there are 2 stances given, 2 viewpoints given. Number 1 is, so first thing is you have to break down the question. Suppose you are answering this question. So first thing you break it down. So what is the first point that you that is being talked about? Some people say that advertising encourages us to buy things that we really do not need. Yeah. So encourages to buy things we do not need. Others say that advertisements tell us about new products that may improve our lives. So these are the 2 sides. So here is a clear agree disagree thing. So which viewpoint do you agree with? So what is your opinion and how would you support your opinion? That is important, right? Suppose, and here if you see this topic, you can easily explain your stance with the help of examples. Think about yourself. How do what do you think about advertisements? Do they help you, or do you go into compulsive buying because of them? Right? Do you does it help you, like if you look through different products, look at the reviews of the different products? Is that helpful, or do you think that people you would just about look at an advertisement and buy it nonetheless? Right? Okay, so you can write down your own points also. So by the time we begin with reading this, you can think of a few points of your own. Write down a few points, so you will, while you are reading this, you will start framing your sentences relating to the points that you have got. You can take about 3 minutes to write down points of your own.
नंदिनी मैम आपने बुलाया था?
नहीं मैम, आपको नहीं बुलाया. थैंक यू. So in this topic, you can talk about like in your 2 or 3 paragraphs, you can talk about various things. You can talk about personal experiences. You can talk about people in general. Maybe one point is your personal experience. Another point you can go on to another reason, how different companies influence people, how advertisements influence people in general, right? And you can also talk about whether they are useful or not useful. Okay. So remember, you will be getting about in your exam, if you plan your time, you can use about 3 minutes to put down your points, 3 to 5 minutes to put down your points and plan your examples, write down your examples and plan your paragraphs. Think of a template, how to begin with, yeah. And now when you are writing, now total time you get is 30 minutes. So you take away 5 minutes, you're left with how much? 25 minutes, right? Out of the 25 minutes, 20 minutes you will be writing. And 5 minutes you will keep for editing your essay. So if you don't keep the 5 minutes, you will end up with an essay, you end up with submitting an essay with errors. Right? To avoid submitting your essay with errors, remember that you should always edit. Okay, so now you have your points. Suhana?
Yes, ma'am. I have
Okay,
one
so
point.
what points do you have?
So, ma'am, I said that I agree that advertising encourages us to buy things that we don't need.
Mhm.
And ma'am, I took an example of if there are various offers, then people will get swayed to buy things. And for an example for this is, ma'am, the TV program Naptol, it has various anchors which keep on shouting offers and they keep saying that there's a limited time constraint. And if you buy within that time, then you will get a very good offer. And people get swayed to buy things because of that and because of the time constraint, and they get duped because they get not good products at all.
Okay, yes. Anything else?
No, ma'am, that's it.
That
That's
is
all. I got.
that will make one paragraph. You need at least one more paragraph. Yeah, think of another point. Okay, Akhil, what point?
Advertisement get us to buy something unhealthy, like fast food chains and restaurants tempt us
Mhm.
to buy unhealthy products.
Yeah.
You give example of Domino's and the.
Mhm.
And
Anything else?
they create more waste as they encourage customers to keep buying more. And by this
Mhm.
method, we generate waste in a long time as we throw out
Yeah.
things.
So now, if you see, they say that advertising encourages us to buy things. So you can talk about how they are encouraging you, right? So the offers they give. So maybe, especially if you talk, like you spoke about McDonald's, like what are the different ways they lure you to buy? What are the offers they give you? They give you bigger meal packs, which maybe you don't want the Coke, but still you take the Coke, right? So, and you can come up with different other examples also. Any other point you have? So on similar lines, you can talk about something else also, right? Suppose you are buying, maybe you can talk about social media, how social advertisements on social media influence you, right? And when you are seeing the same advertisement, maybe you went through one advertisement and due to AI, the same types of products keep coming up. So you tend to think that, okay, this product will be good. And you go in to buy it. Say you are searching for a product on Amazon and whatever else you are doing on the net, those products will pop up, right? So you can use your personal experience like this with it. And think on modern terms, don't think on general terms, think on specific lines, you will be getting more points. Yeah. Okay, Varun, what point do you have?
Okay, so I have that I agree with the viewpoint that advertisement tell us about new products that may improve our lives.
Mhm.
And so far I've gotten till uh, in an ad, we are always shown people using a product or
Mhm.
service. This is to help us image and realize, no, sorry. Uh, this allows us to picture if having this product or good in our life will make it better, or if it would be useful to us.
Mhm.
Like if a person wants to if a person wants is a sees an advertisement for lives like, sorry, if a person is living in a very noisy neighborhood and they want to block out noise, so then if they are to see an advertisement for noise cancelling headphones, they would think that perhaps it would be best if I got these, because these would help me minimize distractions around me.
Right.
So here the ad is giving the person a reason why he or she would want to own this pair of headphones.
Hmm.
But ultimately, the choice is theirs to make, whether they simply have to just ask themselves whether or not do they want the product or not.
Right. So,
And
okay, now when we are talking about advertisements, they would not be only advertisements that were like particular products shown on TV or in the newspaper. You would also talk about advertisements in the form of reviews,
yeah,
promotions.
yeah,
So those are also advertisements. So the promotions for products that are taking place, maybe some activities that are taking place which help you to analyze a product. Those could also
yeah.
be like if you're say you are buying a new phone
Mm,
online. So even if you don't buy it online, before you buy a new phone, you will be going through the reviews of the phone,
yes.
right? Or any product you buy, like you can say that in this world of social media, it is always good to look through the reviews of new products, which help us to make good decisions, informed decisions, right? So don't restrict yourself when you're talking about these type of topics to one particular point, but go into your entire experience. Okay. Okay, so you've got a few points. You have to be thinking of a little more points. Or maybe if you don't get enough points, break down the point that you have into two parts. So maybe you're talking about advertisements which help you, or which make you buy things which are not necessary. Think about two different situations, two different types of products, or maybe two different categories of people. You can get to different points to that, right? Okay, now we'll just go through this particular example that is there. Now, this is the introduction. Some people believe that advertisements lure us to purchase goods that are not of necessity. Others are of the view that advertising has positive role to play in modern society. If is helping us to choose between competing goods. Now, these first two lines are what? They are restatement of the question. Yeah, the two views that the question is presenting, and it has been paraphrased and presented in the essay. Okay, now in my opinion, your next sentence comes up straight away. In my opinion, I strongly believe that advertising encourages consumers to buy unwanted items for three compelling reasons. Yeah, so this is your thesis statement. This should always be there. Now you can memorize a statement like this, like in my opinion, or I strongly believe. You can write both or any one of them. That, and then whatever the topic that comes in, and for three reasons, or for two reasons, or for dash reasons. Maybe after writing the essay, you come up with whether it is going to be three or two, right? Now coming to the first body paragraph. To begin with, advertising creates unrealistic expectations about products with exaggerated and misleading claims. You see, this is the point raised. Yeah, so the first point. Now, the paragraph begins with to begin with. That is, your first point has been raised. Now, for instance, example, right? For instance, advertisements for prescription drugs create unrealistic expectations about effectiveness of drugs and its side effects. In these kinds of advertisements, the visual images only show healthy, happy people. It never truly shows the actual downside effect of the drug. So if you see, one particular example has been taken and the whole point has been explained with the help of the example. Now, similarly, now this is introducing a second example. Similarly, beauty and health products may not live up to their promises, resulting in wasted consumer dollars. Disclaimers are often hidden in very small print on product packaging and in out of the way spots in ads. Right? So if you look at the structure of the paragraph, you have a point, you pick up an example, explain with the help of the example, pick up another side of the example, then conclude with a point which is clearly shows that this is not good. Right? Okay, now coming to the second point, it begins with secondly. Secondly, multinational corporations create meticulously crafted ads to entice consumers to purchase their products. So this is, if you see, now suppose you had one point and you thought of a few examples, right? So that example can be created into a point. Yeah, that's what they've done. They've created the, they took up the example of multinational corporations, created that into a point. Create meticulously crafted ads to entice consumers to purchase their products. Then a specific example. Here's an example of McDonald's. The fast food chain McDonald's advertising artifacts try to lure children with toys and playrooms in order to sell kids meals, right? Moreover, there is some additional point adding to this. Vigorous advertising campaigns are promoted across a plethora of channels such as TV, billboards, online, and so on to grab consumer attention to purchase goods that may be of no need to them. So different forms of advertising, how they influence consumers. Now this can be wrapped up with consequently the consequence of this. Here also this was the consequence. Consequently, people become more materialistic as advertising compounds the desire to own more items. So this is the desire to own more items. Here it's talking about misleading, right? So the first paragraph was about misleading. That was the point. Second paragraph was about luring to buy even if they don't want to. How they are luring. Okay, now there's a third point also. So lastly, people cannot just choose advertise. Sorry. Lastly, it says, lastly, people cannot just choose to ignore advertising because advertisers use many underhand methods to get their message across. Right? So we cannot ignore it. Posters have attention-grabbing words or provocative pictures. Furthermore, now take note of all the transition words that are used not only in the beginning of the sentence but also in the middle of the paragraph. Right? So furthermore, some advertisements today are even being hidden in what seems like pieces of art or public information. Yeah. Sometimes you may see that there are little clippings or little say films which are actually, there's a story, but actually it's an ad. They'll be talking about some product, right? As a consequence, people don't realize that they are being marketed to. Yeah, they'll be talking about, okay, I bought this was very good, but it is you actually it is an advertisement. By targeting people's unconscious thoughts, adverts are a form of brainwashing that take away people's freedoms to make choices. So they take away people's freedoms. That is the conclusion to this. Yeah, so there are 3 points brought up. Now let's see how the conclusion has been framed. In closing, or in conclusion, you can say, I firmly believe, so the opinion restated, that the sole purpose of advertisements are to persuade us to buy things that we normally wouldn't. So this is a restatement of whatever has been said in the introduction, right? Now, the products that are advertised often don't live up to the standards we have set for them because of false advertising. This was the first point that was there in the first paragraph. In addition, ads create a big corporation. By big corporations are often exaggerated, making us buy goods that are not of necessity. So this is restating the point raised in the second paragraph. Finally, because of many underhand methods advertisers use in ads, we are taken away our freedom to make choices. So this was the third point that has been raised. So if you see, this is summarizing all 3 points into the conclusion. You may write an entire sentence for each point, or you may just take up, say, 1 or 2 sentences and restate the particular points in very short, right? So this is the format that you could be following. Introduction. Introduction begins with the restating the question, your opinion, and for 3 or 2 compelling reasons. Now, if you see, it's not just reasons. It's compelling reasons means you are here to give your reasons which will be very convincing, right? So your choice of words here is very important. So now the second paragraph would be the first body paragraph. So the first point, explain with the help of example. And you may use, like if you, a strong paragraph would have a concluding sentence. Yeah, so the maybe this is just about what is the effect of it, right? Similarly, the third and the fourth paragraphs and the conclusion. So this is how you can go about your essay, right? So the format that we were talking about now, is it clear how to write? So even if you don't have enough points, and maybe you can think of examples, you can actually use the examples to create points. Okay? Akhil? Is it clear how you're going to write?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? Okay. So now here you have a list of questions. These are apart from the questions that are there in the specific the topic questions that are there in the exercises. Here you have a list of about 52 questions. Yeah, so different types of questions are there. There would be the agree, disagree. Some people believe this. Which of these sources news do you prefer? So this is a preference question, right? Now here 2 ways of learning do you prefer? These are all the preference questions that you can come up with. So this one, inventions such as eyeglasses and sewing machine have an important effect on our lives. Choose another invention that you think is important. Then you can think of something related to technology. Now there are some topics, if you go through all these topics, you will find that some topics like how technology influences our life, that can come in different ways. Yeah, how internet uses our life, affects our lives. Or do we get enough knowledge from internet? Do you think that reading books or information from the internet is better. So different ways. So there would be technology, there could be food, there could be education. Say playing a game is fun only when you win. Do you agree or disagree? Right? Now pertaining to universities, research centers going, now this is one type of example that is could be there. A research center is going to be established in a university. There is an argument whether to establish an agricultural center or a business one. Which do you think is better? Right? So your opinion on whether there should be an agricultural center or a business center. So break down the question into parts, you will get your answer. Right? So you can go through these, pick up at random, like I told you to pick up questions in the independent speaking class. We also pick up a question at random and write. So because you will not have any choice in your example. So some students like to have outdoor activities, others like indoor activities. Which do you prefer? This is also a preference question between outdoor and indoor. Like this is also now the opinion here. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? A student's main purpose is getting an education. In getting an education is to earn a lot of money. Use specific reasons and examples to support your opinion. Okay, so here you can use personal reasons and examples. So depending upon the question, or you can also use general. Maybe one point could be about general reason, one point could be a specific personal reason. Okay, now when we are talking about the longer type of questions, I'll just give you an idea about that. So question number 50, if you look at, choose one of the following transportation vehicles and explain why you think it has changed people's lives. So automobiles, bicycles, and airplanes. Now, if you look at this, this is again a preference question, and your opinion also comes in, and you will be giving your reasons with the help of examples. So if you choose automobiles and how they have changed people's lives and transportation, you will be giving reasons how automobiles have, say, eased lives, or airplanes, how they have eased traveling, whether they are safe or not. All those things can come. See question number 51. Often we are required to participate in group projects at school or work. Sometimes we must work with people who share our opinions and ideas. However, sometimes we must work with people who have completely different opinions than us. Which do you prefer? That is, whether you want to be with people who share your opinions, or you want to be, it's okay to be with people who have completely different opinions. Right? A little complicated when you read it for the first time, but if you look at it again, you will get two distinct, it's like this is, some people do this, some people do that. Which do you prefer? Right? So again, use examples, and they would also add, do not use memorized examples. That is not something, maybe you memorize something for some other essay, but you use it here. But anyway, you can use your own examples, you can prepare examples. Okay, now we all face difficult challenges in our lives, is number 52. They can occur at home, at work, or even at school. When you are dealing with a serious problem in your life, what do you feel is the best way to handle it? Yeah, quite a long question as such. So how would you handle it? There are three options given to you: asking someone with more experience for advice, looking for potential solution using the internet, taking a long time to think about a problem. So in this type of question, again, what you can do is you can pick up any one of the stances and say, this is what I would do. And to expand further, maybe 2 paragraphs you write about your particular choice. And the last paragraph, you can write about the perils of going into the other, why you would not go into the other two solutions, other two options, you will say, right? So now here you have about 52 topics plus the topics that are already there in the sessions. So the two we already discussed. Okay, here in TW3, I was talking about the integrated task. So in TW3, this is page number 75 in this PDF. I don't know what page number you would have got in the new PDF. So this is one exercise. And this is another one of the integrated tasks. The tracks are available. You can do these. And you have some more topics over here also. Some students prefer this, others prefer this, which will you prefer? So again, you can write about your preference. And in the last paragraph, you can write about the why you would not prefer the other one. Right? So you have a few more topics over here. There are about 4 more questions or 5 more questions here. You can go through these, pick up any topic and write. And remember, when you are writing, your organization of the paragraph is very important. So whenever you have a little bit of a doubt, go back to the example and see how it is organized. Right? And once you've written, you can mail it to me. So I will be able to get back to you on a review of whatever you written. Right? And Suhana and Jay, you will be sending me your tracks.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now this is the last bit of our Toefl course. So since it's a crash course, we would not be going into too much of details, but yes, the main thing is about practicing. So you have to be practicing on each of these topics. So I suppose you have a little time now from school, right? So use the time daily, even if you put in about half an hour for your TOEFL practice, half an hour to 45 minutes on a daily basis. And yes, speaking task you have to do every single day, right? So finish off with all the exercise materials or practice materials that you've got. And if you think you've done all of them, you need more material, you can search the net or you can tell me. I will look for some more material and share it. Right? So Varun, Akhil, any doubts?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No? Jay?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay, so you will of course come up with doubts only once you are practicing. So make sure that you practice enough. Yeah, you can write an essay maybe every alternate day. Do one reading exercise at least. Time yourself for the reading exercise. And say one day you do reading, one day you do listening. This is for the first week. In the second week, try to do an entire set. That is complete reading, complete listening, and complete speaking, along with writing. So at least 2 to 3 of those sets you will do together. So you know how much of stamina and focus you can keep through the test, right? So now you start writing and start doing your exercises so that your next Saturday you will be coming up with a lots of doubts to solve. Okay. So if you don't have any more questions, then we can wrap up for today.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Thank you, Rekha ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.